All right, my good folks. And we are back again with another episode. And this one is going to be hella important because this is a video on why your ass procrastinates, even though you know it's going to hurt. Let me jump right on into it. Welcome back to another episode of The Squeeze, where we're going to take a deep dive into one of life's toughest topics. All right? And let me break it down to you real slow so we can get to the good stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about what's really hard and what's really real, something you've all faced at some point, and that's procrastination. Picture this, it's 5 p.m. and that report you've been putting off for days, yeah, it's due tomorrow. You sit down, you open up your computer, you check your phone, maybe you catch something on YouTube. Actually, dinner sounds good right about now. And then before you know it, you're thinking, maybe I'll just start in the morning. Sound familiar? Well, that's the procrastination cycle that we all kind of go through. Why do we keep putting things off when we know it's bad for us? And more importantly, how do we break that cycle? So I'm going to get right into it. Let's talk about it. First things first, let's not delay. If you're really liking all of this, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and make sure you do this all because it's absolutely free to you guys. Absolutely free. Now, procrastination. Responsible time management is one of the key factors with everybody when it comes to procrastination. Responsible time management means choosing which tasks can wait. True procrastination happens when you avoid a task, not for a good reason, but just because you don't want to deal with it. So even though you know it's going to make things worse in the end, guess what? You still wind up doing it. On paper, that sounds irrational. Why would we avoid something that we know will harm us in the long run? Ironically, though, procrastination is actually our brains trying to protect us. When faced with a task that we see as threatening, like a big report or a difficult conversation or a project that challenges us, our brains respond just as they would in any threat. Our amygdala, the part of the brain that processes emotions and identifies threats, kicks in and starts releasing those emotions. For a lot of us, though, that stress response overpowers our logical thinking. Normally, that comes from your prefrontal cortex. So instead of just tackling a task, we shift to something easier, less stressful, and then boom. That's procrastination kicking in. So why do we do this? Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, damn, Juice, come on. It's just a deadline. It's not a bear attack. Oh, and I got a story for that. If anybody really wants to know, let's get this video up to let's say 1,000 likes. I have a story about the time when me and my friends had to take out a bear. All right, let's see if y'all want to hear that. Let's really get into it. Yeah, I know you're right. All right. Most of us were likely to procrastinate on tasks that stir up negative emotions. And those negative emotions being dread, insecurity, the fear of not being good enough. And studies have shown that if we put off tasks that make us feel overwhelming or make us feel insecure. And it gets worse. When we procrastinate, we build up these tasks in our heads, making them even harder. So in one experiment, students were reminded to study throughout the day. Those who were studying said it wasn't so bad. And the ones that procrastinated rating the thought of studying as super stressful. Okay? Some people are naturally prone to this, especially those who struggle with low self-esteem or are difficult at regulating those emotions. And get this, contrary to what a lot of people think, procrastinators aren't lazy. In fact, they're most often the opposite. Many procrastinators, because they care too much and are afraid they won't be measured up, are highly functioning beings. So what are the consequences of your procrastination? So right here is a tough part. Even when it comes to procrastination, even though it can help us dodge stress in the short term, in the long term, it hurts us even more. Frequent procrastinators are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and ongoing feelings of shame. And even then, physical ailments that are linked to high stress. But here's where it gets tricky. That temporary stress relief reinforces the procrastination as a go-to to avoid unpleasant tasks. So every time you procrastinate to dodge the stress, it builds a habit that becomes even stronger. So right now, let's get into this and make sure you guys, again, it's absolutely free to you, are liking this video and make sure you subscribe because I want to grow the community. But I'm about to tell you absolutely right now how to break the cycle. So you want to know exactly how you get this done? Traditionally, people thought that procrastinators just needed more discipline and time management skills. But a lot of research has been done right now, and believe me, it's not what you think. Believe me when I tell you, being too hard on yourself is actually going to add more negative emotions, making stress feel even worse. So what's the key to breaking that procrastination? Well, it's reducing the bad feelings that make us avoid the task in the first place. And here right now are a few strategies that can help you to break that, okay? What you want to do is to put your tasks into smaller, easier steps for yourself. So take an overwhelming project and break it down into smaller, manageable tasks. Then suddenly that huge monster you had to fight is now broken into small, digestible chunks that you can handle one by one. And I know that might sound a little innuendo as I'm just thinking about it, but pause. All right. And another thing that you can do, right, is journal. Write down the tasks that you're stressing about. Sometimes when you just identify those fears and concern, it takes the power that you have on the back of your neck right away. Another big thing you got to do, right, is remove distractions. Make sure this device, if you can't, turn off notifications, leave it in another room, create an environment that you don't have to be impulsive to procrastinate, where you won't just jump on Instagram, you're not going to jump on TikTok, even on YouTube, all right? You need to cultivate your own self-compassion. This is number 4, all right? Cultivate your own self-compassion, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to forgive yourself. Even when you do wind up procrastinating, self-compassion is going to make it so you don't give yourself such a heavy blow and you have more room to move forward with less baggage. So instead of beating yourself up, let's make a plan and do better in the future. All right? So as we get into the end of this, guys, procrastination is real. It affects each and every one of us on all different levels. And you might get to a point where you thought you succeeded, and this is where I'm going to talk to y'all high-level folks that you might think that I don't need this one. But you might have thought that you've been doing so well that you take a minute and then you start forgetting all the things that you needed to be doing to keep succeeding. And that is another form of procrastination. But here's the real juice, y'all. Here's the real squeeze. Procrastination is often a way that our brain is going to try to keep us safe. So by understanding where it comes from and learning how to manage those underlying feelings, we can break the cycle. And remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. And when you can face a task with less dread, the grip of procrastination loosens. Start with small steps. Show yourself some grace and watch the cycle slowly start to break. And all right, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up here, and I just want to remind you, thank you for hanging out with me. Make sure you guys hit up the like button, drop down in those comments so I know how you like this video, and share this with anybody you feel like could learn something from this video. And until next time, guys, remember, live as long as you want, never want as long as you live, and always squeeze the best juice out of life. Peace.